Boker Tov. We are continuing the Halachot of Lashon Hara. We're discussing the past few days the prohibition of the Isur of Kabalat Lashon Hara, of accepting and believing Lashon Hara Rechilut. So we're continuing now. The topic for today is even from a relative or spouse. Kabalat Lashon Hara, accepting or believing Lashon Hara to be the truth, is prohibited even if the Lashon Hara or Rechilut was relayed by one's parent, spouse, or close relative. Again, this is a very, very difficult halacha, and it's very practical because part of a relationship, part of being close to your spouse, to your parents, to your children, is having an open dialogue. But even in that realm, there are still restrictions that we have to be careful that we don't violate, chas v'shalom, when it comes to the Isur of Lashon Hara. One who has the ability to object to wrongdoings in his home and does not do so, the Gemara says, is held responsible in the world to come. Therefore, a person must be careful to softly rebuke his family members for these actions, teaching them the severity of the punishment for forbidden speech, as well as the great reward for those who control themselves. This is the Chafetz Chaim. He brings this down, lehalacha. Now, this is a difficult part. Even if the speaker is his parents, he must rebuke them, but he should be sure to do so very respectfully, says the Chafetz Chaim. Furthermore, when one listens to and accepts gossip relayed by one's spouse, he is conveying approval of it, thus encouraging his spouse to continue relating information of this nature and unwittingly setting himself up for much aggravation and controversy as a result in the future. One should immediately put an end to such talk, saving himself and his family from a bitter and unpleasant future, says the Chafetz Chaim. We'll speak momentarily about the parents. I just want to say the end of the halakha. And even if it's muttar for the speaker, even if a person has a reason why it's permitted to speak Lashon Hara, this does not necessarily give the listeners permission to believe it. There's a very big difference between, sometimes it's a heter, we spoke about before, we'll speak about later, whether there's a toilet, when there's reason to relay Lashon Hara. That doesn't mean automatically that even though he's allowed to say it, we are allowed to listen and believe it to be the truth. Sometimes the speaker may not be guilty of Lashon Hara. For example, he's protesting an injustice on ben adam lechavero, so there is toilet. Yet if the mekabel, the person who's listening, accepts the allegations as fact without investigating the matter, he is guilty of Kabalat Lashon Hara. The Chafetz Chaim says there are other examples we'll see below as well. So this is very important that it doesn't work both ways. We said that if it's asur, it'll be isur, but if it's mutar, it doesn't mean that it's mutar to listen and accept. Now they bring down in a beautiful way how to speak to someone's parents if they're slipping up. They bring the Gemara that chas v'shalom, no one can actually directly rebuke them. That's isur avon. You can't be disrespectful even if they're doing something inappropriate. You need to ask. The Gemara says you have to ask them, and Rashi says they'll understand their own. The Ben Ish Chai suggests, I once observed another person committing this act, and the rabbi, the Chacham, told him that it's forbidden. If the father doesn't take the hint, then you can tell him openly. But Rav Vincent Abashul, however, writes that one may not degrade his father or mother in order to stop him from sinning. If one will anger his parents by trying to influence them in this regard, Rav Chaim Kanievsky applies the ruling as just as a mitzvah to give tochecha is also equal mitzvah to not speak when you know won't get accepted. So there's a lot of discussion how to speak to someone's parents, and the ikar is respectfully. It needs to be with respect. Just because there might be something you don't think is just, it's not carte blanche to have a conversation however you like. At the end of the day, the parents are still our parents, and we need to always conduct ourselves with respect. Chazak Baruch and Tizkei Mitzvot.